So for the final problem, we have Einstein moving at 3c/5, and his dog trying to chase after him at 2c/5. So Newton measures Einstein's boat to be moving at 3c/5, and Newton measures Einstein's dog to be chasing after him at 2c/5. So we can ask the question, how fast does Einstein see his dog moving? Well, let's use the relativistic addition of velocities formula. So remember, how does this work? V prime is, I want to know how I see something moving. I have to see how I see you moving and how you see that something else moving. So in this case, V prime is how Einstein sees the dog. Which we don't know what that is, that's what we want to find. U is how Einstein sees Newton. And V is how Newton sees the dog. This is generally how this formula works. How Einstein sees the dog, if you want to do it like this, how Einstein sees the dog is this formula over here, which is how Einstein sees Newton, combined with how Newton sees the dog. It gives me how Einstein sees the dog. So I just need to determine what U and V are to get this formula to work. So what are these answers? Well, if Newton sees Einstein moving at 3c/5, Einstein sees Newton moving at negative 3c/5. Since Einstein's moving in this direction, Einstein sees Newton moving away from him in the opposite direction. So that means that U is minus 3c/5. Newton sees the dog moving at 2c/5. That's given to us. So I can then just plug these things into this expression. And so how Einstein sees the dog is minus 3c/5 plus 2c/5 divided by 1 minus 3/5 times 2/5. This minus here because U has a negative sign. So we end up with minus c/5 in the numerator and 1 minus 6/25 in the denominator, which is 19/25. So this whole thing then is minus 5c/19. So this makes sense. If Einstein, for Newton, is moving at 3c/5 and the dog is chasing at him at 2c/5, then Einstein is outrunning the dog. So from Einstein's perspective, the dog is still moving away from him. Newton is moving away at 3c/5, negative 3c/5. The dog is also moving away, not as fast. The dog is moving away from him at minus 5c/19. And that's an example of relativistic addition of velocity.